Hello everybody and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, June the 28th, and time once again for the mailbag. And it is a monster this week. I've got a little stack of physicals, including a giveaway I'm going to be doing, and about 24 e-arcs. So yeah, I think I should probably just forego the announcements and jump right in. But yeah, I hope you all have had a great week and a great weekend. My week has been actually pretty good and productive. I have just wrapped up another review and, starting a new book, my next review, for this week. So again, I'm trying to get back on the treadmill and bring some regularity back to the channel now. And it feels really good to be doing that. The fact that I think it's going to be a rainy week ahead makes it pretty easy to plan to just stay inside, sitting on my butt and reading books and writing about books and making content. So expect some stuff this week. And also, I am getting ready to really pour on the steam now for Space Opera September Season 2, which is coming up. We're kind of in the final stretch of preparation for that, and I think that's going to be exciting. You're in for a treat. So be ready for that. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. That's really it for announcements. So let's not waste any more time and get into these books. So we're going to start out here. I've got a couple of packages off the top from Random Penguin. And we're starting out on a high note. This is the finished copy in paperback from Angry Robot of Ada Hoffman's The Fallen. Now, this is the sequel to her book, The Outside, which is kind of a space opera cosmic horror thing. And I have a duology review planned of this coming up very quickly, because I've had this as an e-arc for a little while. But it's nice to have the physical copy. Although, I have to say, I don't know if this is a duology or if it's eventually going to be a trilogy at this time. I'm not entirely clear on that. But for now, I'm thinking it's a duology, but I may stand corrected pretty soon. But let me see, can I read anything of this that will not be spoilery? It just says, from the immersive and intoxicating world of The Outside comes this exhilarating sequel from Philip K. Dick Award-nominated author Ada Hoffman. Yeah, and I really don't want to give away anything more beyond that. So The Fallen is a July trade paperback title from Angry Robot. And next, also from Angry Robot, we have The Coward. This is a new epic fantasy by Stephen Aryan. And this one, I believe, is already out. I think this was a June release for Angry Robot. So let's see what this has to say for itself. It says, "Who will slay the evil in the frozen north, saving all from death and destruction? Not Kel Crescia. He's done his part. Kel Crescia is a legend, a celebrity, a hero. Aged just 17, he set out on an epic quest with a band of wizened fighters to slay the Ice Lich and save the world. He returned victorious, but alone. 10 years have passed, and Kel lives a quiet life, while stories of his heroism are told in taverns all across the land. But now a new terror has arisen in the north, as something has taken up residence in the Lich's abandoned castle beyond the frozen circle, and the ice is beginning to creep south once more. For the second time, Kel is called upon to take up his famous sword, Slayer, and battle the forces, that's a practical name for a sword, I have to admit, and battle the forces of darkness, but he has a terrible secret. Kel was never a hero. He was just lucky. Everyone puts their faith in Kel the legend, but he's just a coward who has no intention of risking his life for anyone." So here we have another epic fantasy that's kind of, dunking on the whole notion of heroism, or traditional ideas about heroism, as it were. And so yeah, this is out now from Angry Robot Books, and for reasons best known to themselves, I didn't request this, but in the package, they stuck another copy. So there we are. So I guess that means I'm going to do a giveaway. So for my spare copy, obviously I'm going to keep one, but for the spare copy, so here's the thing. If you are a U.S. resident, I'm sorry I have to limit this to U.S. residents due to mailing costs and all of that, just send me an email at this address right here with this subject line. And include in the email your snail address, and if you like, you can say something else witty or amusing, and then what I will do is I will pick a winner at random, and you'll get the book. So don't be a coward. Send that email. Now, next up, I have a package with an Amazon smiley. That usually means this is going to be another horror book from Silver Shamrock. And I was correct. Look at this. This is charming. This is sure to freak out all the vegans in the audience. This is a book called Bad Girl in the Box. The author is Tim Curran. And as you see, very much horror. Let's say it says Birch Street, a beautiful neighborhood on a beautiful summer day. Then raw meat falls from the sky. People are at first offended, then intrigued. Once tasting it, they can eat nothing else. It becomes an addiction that owns them body and soul, releasing pent-up frustrations, secret desires, and nameless horror. And when the meat runs out, the monsters are loose on Birch Street. Into this hell zone of starvation, rot, and worms comes a conflicted, traumatized young woman. She's returning home after a long, painful absence. She alone broods over the secret of the meat. Through her is deliverance from starvation, but only at the most horrific price. Yeah, it's an interesting premise, interesting concept, and perhaps, a bit of a satire. But Bad Girl in the Box from Tim Curran is, I guess, available now or coming out very soon from Silver Shamrock Publishing. Yeah, I guess if you like your horror extremely gross, that one is for you. And this, now, is a package from HarperCollins. This is very nice to have. This is the finished copy in hardcover of a new book called Appleseed. The author is Matt Bell. It says it's set in 18th century Ohio. Two brothers travel into the wooded frontier, planting apple orchards from which they plan to profit in the years to come. As they remake the wilderness in their own image, the long-held bonds and secrets between the two will be tested, fractured, broken, and possibly healed. 50 years from now, in the second half of the 21st century, climate change has ravaged the Earth. Having invested early in genetic engineering and food science, one company now owns all the world's resources. And I guess they make meat fall from the sky. I mean, it's logic. It's all connected, isn't it? Oh my God. But back to this, a growing resistance is working to redistribute both land and power. And in a pivotal moment for the future of humanity, one of the company's original founders will return to headquarters, intending to destroy what he helped build. 1,000 years in the future, North America is covered by a massive sheet of ice, inhabited by only one lonely being in a deteriorating tech station. In his quest, he sets out across the continent in search of a fabled last remnant of civilization. Part speculative epic, part tech thriller, part reinvented fairy tale, Appleseed is an unforgettable meditation on climate change, corporate, civic, and familial responsibility, manifest destiny, and the myths and legends that sustain us all. So this looks like a very, very ambitious story indeed. 3 time frames and everything else. So anyway, Appleseed by Matt Bell. I believe this is going to be a July release from, it says, HarperCollins. And we're going to wrap up the physicals this week with this chunk of a box from Hachette. And in that box, I have a couple of titles from Orbit. And we're starting out with this new one from Claire North, the author of the first 15 Lives of Harry August and several other books. This is called Notes from the Burning Age. And it goes like this. From one of the most imaginative writers of her generation comes an extraordinary vision of the future. Venn was once a holy man, a keeper of ancient archives. It was his duty to interpret archaic texts, sorting useful knowledge from the heretical ideas of the Burning Age, a time of excess and climate disaster. For in Venn's world, such material must be closely guarded, so that the ills that led to that cataclysmic era can never be repeated. But when the Revolutionary Brotherhood approaches him, pressuring him to translate stolen writings that threaten everything he once held dear, his life will be turned upside down. Torn between friendship and faith, Venn must decide how far he's willing to go to save this new world, and how much he is willing to lose. So this is new from Orbit by Claire North. Gonna save a little time here later in the video, because this was also first on the list of the e-arcs that I have, so now I don't have to talk about that one. I've done it here. Notes from the Burning Age from Orbit. Alright, so here we are with the e-arcs, and like I said, I have a lot of them, and so we're just going to try to get through these as quickly as possible. But it's a wide variety of stuff from a wide variety of publishers. We're mostly starting with the August releases, going all the way, I believe, through October. And September especially is a very busy month, full of quite a lot of exciting stuff. So, Well, we're starting out on August the 3rd with The Godstone. This is a new epic fantasy from Daw Books by Violette Milan. And it says, this new epic fantasy series begins a tale of magic and danger as a healer finds herself pulled deeper into a web of secrets and hazardous magic that could bring about the end of the world as she knows it. Fenra Lowens has been a working practitioner using the magic of healing ever since she graduated from the White Court and left the city to live in the outer modes. When one of her patients, Arlen I'm not going to bother. Anyway, Arlen is summoned to the city to execute the final testament of a distant cousin. She agrees to help him. Arlen suspects the White Court wants to access his cousin's practitioner's vault. Fenra quickly figures out that there is no cousin, that Arlen himself is the missing practitioner, the legendary Xandra Albanil, rumored to have made a Godstone with which he once almost destroyed the world. Sealing away the Godstone left Arlen powerless and ill, and he needs Fenra to help him deal with the possibly sentient artifact before someone else finds and uses it. And that is The Godstone by Violette Milan, out August the 3rd from Daw Books. And next up we have The Rookery. This is by Deborah Hewart, comes out on August the 10th from Tor Books. And this is the sequel to The Nightjar, which came out about a year or so ago, and this is a duology. It says, return to Deborah Hewart's magical alternate London of The Rookery as the Nightjar series continues. After discovering her magical ability to see people's souls, Alice Wyndham only wants three things: to return to the Rookery, join the House Milecki and master her magic, and find out who she really is. But when the secrets of Alice's past threaten her plans, and the Rookery begins to crumble around her, she must decide how far she's willing to go to save the city and the people she loves. All right, so that's The Rookery on August the 10th. And also on August the 10th, we have another sequel. This is called The Sisters of Reckoning. The author is Charlotte Nicole Davis, and this is a YA. And it's a sequel to a book that she had come out about a year or so ago, which it looks kind of like a fantasy western called The Good Luck Girls. And in this one it says the Good Luck Girls are free. Aster's sister and friends have new lives across the border in Farron, where Aster remains in Arquetta, helping more girls escape. But news of a new Welcome House opening fills Aster with the need to do more than just help individual girls. And an unexpected reunion gives her an idea of how to do it. From there grows a wildly ambitious plan to free all Dustbloods who live as prisoners to Arquetta's landmasters and debt slavery. Sounds a bit kind of, Fury Road perhaps influenced, but that is The Sisters of Reckoning, the sequel to The Good Luck Girls, and that's out from Tor Teen, also on August the 10th. Okay, so next up, the next three books all come out on August the 17th, and all from Tor. So they are very busy that week. The first one is from Tor Teen. This is going to be another YA. It's a book called The Endless Skies. The author is Shannon Price. And it says, high above the sea floats the pristine city of the Heliana, home to winged lion shapeshifters, the Leonidae. And protected from the world of humans by an elite group of warriors, the Heliana has only known peace. After years of brutal training, 17-year-old Rowan is ready to prove her loyalty to the city and her people to become one of the Leonidae warriors. But before Rowan can take the oath, a deadly disease strikes the city's children. Soon, the warriors, including two of Rowan's closest friends, are sent on a dangerous mission to find a fabled panacea deep within enemy lands. Left behind, Rowan learns a devastating truth that could compromise the mission and the fate of the Heliana itself. She must make a decision: stay with the city and become a warrior like she always dreamed, or risk her future in an attempt to save everyone she loves. Whatever Rowan decides, she has to do it fast, because time is running out and peace can only last so long. And so that sounds very action-packed. It's The Endless Skies by Shannon Price from Tor Teen on August the 17th. And also, on the 17th, from Tor, we have The Exiled Fleet. This is by J.S. Dews, and this is the second half of a duology that began with the Last Watch. They're releasing these very close together, just within the span of a couple of months. The Last Watch is out right now. It says JSDews continues her fast-paced science fiction action-adventure with the Exiled Fleet, where the Expanse meets the Black Company. That sounds like a very promising mix. The survivors of the Last Watch refuse to die. Okay, so that's the Exiled Fleet. I think I'm going to do another duology review of those two as well. Like, the two books in one video. So, and I'm on an SF kick right now. I'm just very focused on science fiction in my readings. So, that's continuing. Okay, so the next 4 books are all coming out on August the 31st, and they are all from Tor. So Tor is just cranking them. They've got a busy late summer, early fall. It's not like other books, aren't coming out from other publishers. This is just what I've gotten in, okay? So it's what it is, all right? But the first of these is The Devil You Know by Kit Rocha. And this will be out, let's see. Well, like I said, these are all the 31st. Maya has had a price on her head from the day she escaped the Tech Core. Genetically engineered for genius and trained for evolution, there's only one thing she can't do: forget. Gray has finally broken free of the Protectorate, but he can't escape the time bomb in his head. His body is rejecting his modifications, and his months are numbered. When Maya's team uncovers an operation trading in genetically enhanced children, she'll do anything to stop them, even risk falling back into the hands of the Tech Core. And Gray has found a purpose for his final days, keeping Maya safe. So, second book in this series. Kit Rocha has a loyal fan base, and I believe this series is the first traditionally published work by Kit Rocha. I think Kit Rocha, got established as a very successful self-publisher, and I could be wrong though about this being the first traditionally published series by Rocha, but as far as I know, it is. But anyway, The Devil You Know, out August 31st, and also we have a book coming from Tor Teen called Forestborn, and this author is Elaine Audrey Becker. And so it's a YA, as you might have guessed, and it says, Aurora is a shifter, as magical as all those born in the wilderness, and as feared. She uses her abilities to spy for the king, traveling under different guises and listening for signs of trouble. When a magical illness surfaces across the kingdom, Aurora uncovers a devastating truth. Finley, the young prince and her best friend, has caught it too. Oh dear. His only hope is stardust, the rarest of magical elements found deep in the wilderness where Aurora grew up, and to which she swore never to return. But for her only friend, Aurora will face her past and brave the dark magical wood, journeying with her brother and the obstinate older prince who insists on coming. Together they must survive sentient forests and creatures unknown, battling an ever-changing landscape while escaping human pursuers who want them dead. With illness gripping the kingdom and war on the horizon, Finley's is not the only life that hangs in the balance. Well, that sounds pretty exciting, actually. And it is Forestborn, available from Tor Teen. The author is Elaine Audrey Becker. Now, next up, we have the final volume in a trilogy on the 31st from Tor. This is Fury of a Demon by Brian Naslund. And it's the final installment in the Dragons of Terra trilogy. The first 2 books were Blood of an Exile and Sorcery of a Queen. Sebastian D. Castell says that this is a combination of Game of Thrones and superhero stories, basically. War makes monsters of us all. A fast-paced adventure series perfect for comic book readers and fans of heroic fantasy. So, you guys, that kind of story, right? Lots of action, lots of carnage, I'm sure. But Fury of a Demon wraps up the trilogy by Brian Naslund on the 31st. And finally, on the 31st, from Tor.com Publishing, we have, this one looks pretty interesting. It's In the Watchful City by S.Q.E. Liu. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name. But anyway, it says, this one is in the tradition of Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities. Neat, okay. Debut author S.Q. Liu has written a multifaceted story of borders, power, diaspora, and transformation within the Watchful City. The city of Aura is watching. Anima, is an extrasensory human tasked with surveilling and protecting Aura's citizens via a complex living network called the Gleaming. Though Air World is restricted to what A can see, these are, I guess, their own pronouns, AE, can see and experience through the Gleaming, Anima takes pride and comfort in keeping Aura safe from harm. When a mysterious outsider enters the city carrying a cabinet of curiosities from around the world, with a story attached to each item, Anima's world expands beyond the borders of Aura to places and possibilities a never before imagined to exist. But such knowledge leaves Anima with a question that throws into doubt our entire purpose. What good is a city if it can't protect its people? Okay, so that is in the Watchful City. Sounds like it's going to have a very, probably very rich world building, I would guess. Available August the 31st from Tor.com. I've read some of Lou's short fictions, so this will be interesting to read a longer work. Okay, now next up, we come to September. And first off, we only have one title here on the 7th, but it's one that I think a lot of folks have been looking forward to. This is Perhaps the Stars by Ada Palmer. This is the 4th volume in the Terra Ignota series that began with Two Like the Lightning. Okay, my deal with Two Like the Lightning is that I have made 2 attempts to start it, okay? I bounced off it very hard both times. I know it's a wildly acclaimed book, but there's something about the character of the novel that perhaps I was just, both times I attempted reading the book, probably not in the right headspace for. But at the same time, I know that it is the kind of idea-based science fiction that I do like most of the time, right? Very philosophical, very highly detailed world building, and a futuristic culture that Palmer has developed for this. So I'm going to go ahead and try to break out of my rut with this book, resolve whatever my conflicts are, and try to just knock this series out now, because it's like I consider it a challenge. I don't necessarily think it's not going to be something to my taste, but there's something just about Palmer's approach that I kind of feel like I have to acclimate to. So Perhaps the Stars is book 4, available September the 7th. So I have, I guess, all summer now to try to get caught up. Wish me luck. Now, next up, also from Tor, this one on the 14th of September. This looks really interesting. It's a book called Mordu. The author is Alex Phoebe. And this says this book launches an astonishingly inventive epic fantasy trilogy. This seems to have real kind of hints and echoes of maybe Philip Pullman, also maybe some Mervyn Peake. But it says, God is dead, his corpse hidden in the catacombs beneath Mordu. In the slums of the sea-battered city, a young boy called Nathan Treves lives with his parents, eking out a meager existence by picking treasures from the living mud and the half-formed, short-lived creatures it spawns, until one day his desperate mother sells him to the mysterious master of Mordu. The master derives his magical power from feeding on the corpse of God. But Nathan, despite his fear and lowly station, has his own strength, and it is greater than the master has ever known, great enough to destroy everything the master has built, if only Nathan can discover how to use it. So it is that the master begins to scheme against him, and Nathan has to fight his way through the betrayals, secrets, and vendettas of the city where God was murdered and darkness reigns. Propulsive, compulsively readable, full of unforgettable characters, and a talking dog who wants to be a philosopher, Mordu is an epic fantasy, strange, new, and terrifyingly alive. Yeah, this sounds very, very much up my street. I like 'em strange. I really do. So Mordu by Alex Phoebe is on September the 14th. Okay, now let me look. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. My golly. Yeah. September the 21st is packed. Absolutely packed. And we now have books from several publishers here, but there are 6 books coming out on that day that I think deserve your attention. And the first of these is called AI 2041. and it's by two Chinese authors, Chen Qiufan, who wrote Waste Tide, which was excellent, and Kai-Fu Lee. Now, this is an interesting concept. This is a book that contains, that has to do with the subject of artificial intelligence and where it might go. And so what you have is a bunch of short stories by Chen Qiufan that are sort of bracketed by science fact essays by Kai-Fu Lee. Talking about, the various technologies that are being, fictionalized in the stories and what might actually emerge, that sort of thing. So I like that concept. But anyway, it says, in this provocative, utterly original work, Kai-Fu Lee, the former president of Google China and best-selling author of AI Superpowers, teams up with celebrated novelist Chen Qiufan to imagine our world in 2041 and how it will be shaped by AI. In 10 gripping short stories, they introduce readers to an array of eye-opening 2041 settings, such as, in San Francisco, the job reallocation industry emerges as a deep learning AI causes widespread job displacement. In Tokyo, a music fan is swept up in an immersive form of celebrity worship based on virtual reality and mixed reality. In Mumbai, a teenage girl rebels when AI's crunching of big data gets in the way of romance. In Seoul, virtual companions with perfected natural language processing NLP skills offer orphan twins new ways to connect. And in Munich, a rogue scientist draws on quantum computing, computer vision, and other AI technologies in a revenge plot that imperils the world. By gazing toward a not-so-distant horizon, AI 2041 offers urgent insights into our collective future while reminding readers that, ultimately, humankind remains the author of its destiny. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure that my description of the book is correct. I don't know if the two authors are actually collaborating on the short stories as well, but I think that it's going to have stories and essays, like I said. So anyway, that is the first of the books out on September the 21st. This next one, I believe, comes out from Orbit, and it's called The Body Scout. The author is Lincoln Michel. And it says, Diamond Sharp and Savagely Wry. The Body Scout is a timely science fiction thriller debut set in an all-too-possible future, perfect for readers of William Gibson. In the future, you can have any body you want, as long as you can afford it. But in a New York ravaged by climate change and repeat pandemics, Kobo is barely scraping by. He scouts the latest in gene-edited talent for big pharma-owned baseball teams. But his own cybernetics are a decade out of date, and twin sister loan sharks are banging down his door. Things couldn't get much worse. Then his brother, Monsanto Met slugger J.J. Zuns, is murdered at home plate. I like that little bit of satire there. Monsanto now owns sports teams. That's cute. Determined to find the killer, Kobo plunges into a world of genetically modified CEOs, philosophical Neanderthals, and back-alley body modification, only to quickly find he's in a game far bigger and more corrupt than he imagined. To keep himself together while the world is falling apart, he'll have to navigate a time where both body and soul are sold to the highest bidder. Okay, so this definitely sounds like some next-level 21st century cyberpunk here. It's The Body Scout by Lincoln Michel. Okay, now next up, we have a book that a lot of people are looking forward to, but it's kind of hard for me to imagine that, that there's anyone left by now who hasn't already read this one, because it's much anticipated and they just threw it up on NetGalley. So this is Iron Widow. It's a young adult fantasy by Sharon J. Zhao. And this is described as Pacific Rim meets The Handmaid's Tale in this blend of Chinese history and mecha science fiction for YA readers. She has based her protagonist on the only female emperor of China. Anyway, going on with the synopsis, it says, The boys of Huaxia dream of pairing up with girls to pilot chrysalises, giant transforming robots that can battle the mecha aliens that lurk beyond the Great Wall. It doesn't matter that the girls often die from the mental strain. When 18-year-old Zitian offers herself up as a concubine pilot, it's to assassinate the ace male pilot responsible for her sister's death. But she gets her vengeance in a way nobody expected. She kills him through the psychic link between pilots and emerges from the cockpit unscathed. She is labeled an Iron Widow, a much feared and much silenced kind of female pilot who can sacrifice boys to power up chrysalises instead. To tame her unnerving yet invaluable mental strength, she is paired up with Li Shimin, the strongest and most controversial male pilot in Huaxia. But now that Ziqian has had a taste of power, she will not cower so easily. She will miss no opportunity to leverage their combined might and infamy to survive attempt after attempt on her life, until she can figure out exactly why the pilot system works in its misogynist way, and stop more girls from being sacrificed. Okay, so that is Iron Widow, and that will be available September the 21st. Now, this next one coming up is pretty exciting to me. This is The Scholars of Night. It's from Tor Books, and it's by the late John M. Ford. Now, you've probably heard me talk about John M. Ford here on the Mailbag before. He was a very highly regarded author of, I want to say fantasy, but he was actually very omnivorous in the kind of speculative fiction he might write. I think he only did about a half a dozen or so original novels. He left an unfinished novel at the time of his death. But he was very, very much beloved by other writers and, that little core group of fans who were lucky enough to discover his work while he was alive. And then he passed away, and then all of his stuff just kind of vanished. And for years, there were like these weird conflicting stories about why has nobody been able to get the rights to these books from his estate so they can keep them in print and blah, blah, blah. But finally, someone just did the detective work and tracked these people down, and Tor is now re-releasing all of his books, including the unfinished one. That's going to be out next year. But this one, The Scholars of Night, is an alternate history. It originally came out in 1988, and it goes like this. It says, Nicholas Hansard is a brilliant historian at a small New England college. He specializes in Christopher Marlowe. But Hansard has a second secret career with the White Group, a consulting agency with shadowy government connections. There, he is a genius at teasing secrets out of documents old and new. To call him a codebreaker is an understatement. When Hansard's work exposes one of his closest friends as a Russian agent, and the friend then dies mysteriously, the connections seem all too clear. Shaken, Hansard turns away from his secret work to lose himself in an ancient Marlowe manuscript. Surely a lost 400-year-old play is different enough from modern murder, but he is very, very wrong. So that is The Scholars of Night, coming back into print from Tor on September the 21st. Now, moving on, we have this one. This is A Song of Flight. This is by Juliet Marillier, much fan-beloved author of Celtic fantasy, and this is the third in her Warrior Bards series. It says, a young warrior who wields both of the power of her music and the strength of her sword faces a grave threat in this enthralling historical fantasy. Bard and fighter Lioban is always ready. I'm sure I absolutely killed that pronunciation dead. I'm very, very sorry. But anyway, always ready for a challenge. So when news arrives at Swan Island that the Prince of Dalriada has gone missing after an assault by both masked men and the sinister crow folk, she is eager to act. So this is all based on Irish folklore and history, and it will be out from Ace Books, A Song of Flight by Juliet Marillier. Okay. And finally, on September 21st, we have a book I think a lot of people are looking forward to. It's called Under the Whispering Door, and it's by T.J. Klune. T.J. Klune made quite a splash last year with The House on the Cerulean Sea. Very much a little feel-good fantasy. And so this looks to be, in that vein. It says, when a reaper comes to collect Wallace from his own funeral, Wallace begins to suspect he might be dead. Logical. And when Hugo, the owner of a peculiar tea shop, promises to help him cross over, Wallace decides he's definitely dead. But even in death, he's not ready to abandon the life he barely lived, so when Wallace is given 1 week to cross over, he sets about living a lifetime in 7 days. Hilarious, haunting, and kind, Under the Whispering Door is an uplifting story about a life spent at the office and a death spent building a home. All right, and that is Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. Okay, getting close to the bottom of the list here. We have on the 28th, the next four books I'm going to talk about are all coming out on the 28th of September. I mean, what did I tell you? September, packed full of reading. But the first of these is Invisible Sun. This is by Charlie Stross. And this is the alternate timelines of Charles Stross's Empire Games trilogy have never been so entangled than in Invisible Sun. This is the third book in that trilogy. The techno-thriller follow-up to Dark State, as stakes escalate in a conflict that could spell extermination for humanity across all known timelines. This is set in the same universe as his Merchant Princess series, which is sort of like an economic satire, if you will. Gets mixed reviews from Charlie Stross's readers, but I remember enjoying like The Family Trade, finding it very witty. But this is its own trilogy set apparently in that future where there are multiple timelines. So yeah, so that'll be out. I don't really want to say much otherwise because it's kind of sketchy and I don't want to spoil. So Invisible Sun, third book in the Empire Games trilogy, out on the 28th from Tor Books. All right. And also from Tor on the same day, we have a book that's getting some positive buzz. This is a book called Light from Uncommon Stars. The author is Rika Aoki, debut novel, I believe. And it's described as Good Omens, yay, meets The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Okay, well, we'll have that discussion later. In Rika Aoki's Light from Uncommon Stars, a defiantly joyful adventure set in California's San Gabriel Valley, with cursed violins, Faustian bargains, and queer alien courtship over fresh-made donuts. Well, I mean, it already sounds better. Shizuka Satomi made a deal with the devil. To escape damnation, she must entice 7 other violin prodigies to trade their souls for success. She has already delivered 6. When Katrina Nguyen, a young transgender runaway, catches Shizuka's ear with her wild talent, Shizuka can almost feel the curse lifting. She is found, her final candidate. But in a donut shop off a bustling highway in the San Gabriel Valley, Shizuka meets Lan Tran, retired starship captain, interstellar refugee, and mother of 4. Shizuka doesn't have any time for crushes or coffee dates with her very soul on the line, but Lan's kind smile and eyes like stars might just redefine a soul's worth. And maybe something as small as a warm donut is powerful enough to break a curse as vast as the California coastline. I think donuts are underutilized generally in science fiction and fantasy, and I believe that this book is serving a very vital function here to reintroduce the importance of donuts to a happy life, I have to say. Anyway, as the lives of these 3 women become entangled by chance and fate, a story of magic, identity, curses, and hope begins, and a family worth crossing the universe for is found. So there you go, Light from Uncommon Stars, sounds very cute, by Rika Aoki on the 28th of September. Okay, all you horror fans are like, anything else? Anything more for us? Well, here we go. You might find this interesting. This comes out from Orbit on the 28th. It's called The 7 Visitations of Sidney Burgess. The author is Andy Marino, and this appears to be a possession story. It says, from an electrifying voice in horror comes the haunting tale of a woman whose life begins to unravel after a home invasion. Sidney spent years burying her past and building a better life for herself and her young son. A respectable marketing job, a house with reclaimed and sustainable furniture, and a boyfriend who loves her son and accepts her flaws and all. But when she opens her front door and a masked intruder knocks her briefly unconscious, everything begins to unravel. She wakes in the hospital and tells a harrowing story of escape, of dashing out a broken window, of running into her neighbor's yard and calling the police. The cops tell her a different story, because the intruder is now lying dead in her guest room, murdered in a way that looks intimately personal. Sidney can't remember killing the man. No one believes her. Back home, as horrific memories surface, an unnatural darkness begins whispering in her ear, urging her back to old addictions and a past she's buried to build a better life for herself and her son. As Sidney searches for truth among the wreckage of a past that won't stay buried for long, the unquiet darkness begins to grow, to change into something unimaginable, to reveal terrible cravings of its own. Okay, and that is The 7 Visitations of Sidney Burgess, out from Orbit by Andy Marino on September 28th. And also on the 28th, horror fans, we're not done. This one I have really been looking forward to. It's from Tor.com Publishing, and it's called Summer Suns. The author is Lee Mandello, and it's a debut novel, a sweltering queer Southern Gothic that crosses Appalachian street racing with academic intrigue, all haunted by a hungry ghost. Andrew and Eddie did everything together. Best friends bonded more deeply than brothers, until Eddie left Andrew behind to start his graduate program at Vanderbilt. 6 months later, only days before Andrew was to join him in Nashville, Eddie dies of an apparent suicide. He leaves Andrew a horrible inheritance, a roommate he doesn't know, friends he never asked for, and a gruesome phantom that hungers for him. As Andrew searches for the truth of Eddie's death, he uncovers the lies and secrets left behind by the person he trusted most, discovering a family history soaked in blood and death. Whirling between the backstabbing academic world where Eddie spent his days and the circle of hot boys, fast cars, and hard drugs that ruled Eddie's nights, the walls Andrew has built against the world begin to crumble, and there is something awful lurking, waiting for those walls to fall. Okay, and that is Summer Suns, a horror novel from Tor.com Publishing by Lee Mandello, also on September 28th. Okay, finally, last one. We come to the end. And this one also looks either to be, you could call it horror, but you could also maybe call it dark fantasy, when it's maybe not necessarily wanting to be full-on horror. But anyway, in that vein, this is a book called The Lighthouse Witches. The author is C.J. Cook. This comes out on October the 5th. And it goes this way. It says, 2 sisters go missing on a remote Scottish island. 20 years later, one is found, but she's still the same age as when she disappeared. The secrets of witches have reached across the centuries in this chilling Gothic thriller from the author of the acclaimed The Nesting. When single mother Liv is commissioned to paint a mural in a 100-year-old lighthouse on a remote Scottish island, it's an opportunity to start over with her 3 daughters, Luna, Sapphire, and Clover. When 2 of her daughters go missing, she's frantic. She learns that the cave beneath the lighthouse was once a prison for women accused of witchcraft. The locals warn her about wildlings, supernatural beings who mimic human children, created by witches for revenge. Liv is told wildlings are dangerous and must be killed. 22 years later, Luna has been searching for her missing sisters and mother. When she receives a call about her youngest sister, Clover, she's initially ecstatic. Clover is the sister she remembers, except she's still 7 years old, the age she was when she vanished. Luna is worried Clover is a wildling. Luna has few memories of her time on the island, but she'll have to return to find the truth of what happened to her family. But she doesn't realize just how much the truth will change her. And that is The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook, October the 5th, from Berkeley Publishing. All right. Whew. Well, there you have it. I gotta say, you know, whenever these huge e-arc drops happen, it's a lot of reading. So I am just like, can I even talk anymore at the end of one of these videos? But that's just how it goes, right? Anyway, you all know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit the like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and please do subscribe. That very much helps the channel to grow. You know, the channel, things have been kind of stagnant a little bit lately, I have to admit, on the growth front. I don't know if it's the result of me going on vacation for such a long time. Yeah, you know, if you want to like and sub and share, that is always, of course, helpful as I try to get back into the rhythm of things and pick things back up again. So your support is always wonderfully, wonderfully appreciated. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits in the Wank's Army get little perks like getting early access on some of my videos. I use the Patreon money to pay Matt Olson, my enormously talented channel artist, for all the beautiful thumbnails and other artwork that he does for me. So again, thanks to those people for the added support. I want to thank all the rest of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube, and until I see you all again very soon this week with more reviews and more content to come, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy reading.